Cafe anyway. Yeah.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to episode 2553, 2553. It's Mike's Daily Podcast. That's why they say
Mike's Daily Podcast.
At the beginning of this show, it's Mike Matthews live from Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. I was driving down the back alleys trying to get home because of all the craziness and the traffic, but it wasn't that bad. It'll be crazier on Thursday and Friday, then I'll be sad. But today, not so much. Today, I could kind of handle it, even though
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I'm driving on Mission in the East Bay, in Union City, and there's somebody driving at
Mike's
35 miles per hour
Daily
in a 50 mile an hour
Podcast
zone. So
yeah,
that's always really happy. Makes me happy so much. Enabling. No, what's the word I'm looking for? Joyous? I don't know, but all I know, it's not TikTok. This is not a TikTok type show. And it's funny how we call things content now. Isn't that just sort of a catch-all? Anything anybody creates that's just called content? Why don't you just call it something else? Blah, like material or something. He creates something. Instead, we call it content. The word content does not make me content. I just hate it. I come up with something else, but now everybody's content creator. Okay, you make something out of nothing. You create, you're making creations. Maybe that should be what we are creating creations. At any rate, TikTok has a bunch of stupid content makers on there. And I am not on TikTok, nor should I be on TikTok, because I am 54, and that'd be creepy. Because it is a young game. It is a young app. It's for youngsters to give away all their information to China. But the TikTok CEO is testifying before the House panel.
And here's today's podcast picture.
In about a month, so you know. And the podcast picture today was taken from Bart. And this will be posted on social media, but will not be on TikTok. It'll be on Instagram. All my podcast pictures are on Instagram, which you can see. There's a link at MikesDailyPodcast.com if you go there. But yes, I was on the BART, zooming past Stevenson Pond, part of the Quarry Lakes area of Union City. And I snapped this cool picture. I love those lakes. I used to walk with this guy right here, Basil the Boxer, around there. We had many a fun walk together. Yes. And he would say things like this to people that had other dogs. Not to people. He was very friendly and wonderful and kind. But yes, back to TikTok. The app security and its ties to China are in question. And keep that in mind as you use that app, because you probably do, since so many people do. It's taken over. But it has ties to China. It is a Chinese company, and they are not on the up and up, because they've done crazy stuff before. And the security, there is no security when it comes to using that app. They're probably accessing all your content. There, I used the word. Contacts is probably what I wanted to say. Concerns have spanned both sides of the aisle. Yes, both sides do it. In this case, both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, are concerned with lawmakers passing a ban on TikTok on government devices in a year-end legislative package last year, citing security fears. No TikTok on the government devices. How will they enforce that? I don't know. But not a bad idea. It's come on, common sense. Common sense. I was listening to an interesting interview about David Crosby's good friend. I forget his name, but he was talking on Here and Now, which I'm not always a fan of that show on NPR, but this guy was brilliant. He did these podcasts with David Crosby of Crosby, Stills, Nash, Young, The Byrds. Was he in Buffalo Springfield? I don't remember. But Anyway, Cafe Anyway. He apparently, this friend of David Crosby's, was the one that said, hey, you know, there's something called email. And David Crosby was like, what? Oh my gosh, that sounds fantastic. And then the friend said, okay, well, what username do you want to use? And you want to make sure that it doesn't have your name in it, you know, so people won't know that it's you. He goes, oh, no, I want people to know my name. I want people to know it's me. So I guess his email was something like Croz@gmail or something like that. But that's the guy, that's the kind of guy he was. He wanted to embrace technology and be be an open book on the web, which you have to be careful of. People don't hack you when you give out so much information. But he was all about it. One side note about David Crosby, which I found fascinating. When I saw him once in Santa Barbara at a Clint Black concert, of all things, with his wife at the Santa Barbara Bowl. And speaking of email, there was somebody at that concert who saw me wave to David Crosby, and David Crosby didn't respond, didn't wave back. And somebody saw that and emailed me in one of the first emails I ever got. And my first email was through the company, the radio station that I worked for. It was something like mattmichaels@khay.com, which that account's long gone. So if you email that, good luck. But they emailed me and said, oh, you got snubbed. I saw you get snubbed by David Crosby. How do you feel now, loser? Something really mean like that. That person, I think her name was Julie. She ended up being kind of a friend, her and her husband. And they were both early internet acceptors. And Julie loved Keith Urban to the point that she would like buy front row seats all the time to the concerts. And she and her husband had a lot of money. So getting this kind of stuff, that was okay. You know, she'd book these cruises. They'd get on the cruise with Keith Urban. She loved, and I did interview Keith Urban, by the way. You can find that in the interviews section of MikesDailyPodcast.com. As we go outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth.
Anyway,
if you go to MikesDailyPodcast.com and there's that home, it says home right under the name of the show, and you hover over it with your mouse, or maybe you touch it if you're browsing through your phone, and you see all the interviews, just go to A through F. Wait, A, B, C, J, J, K. Really? K's over there by J? Interesting. Okay, so it'd be Keith Urban after I go by his first name. And you can hear that interview, and there's a picture of the two of us. Okay, so that was my early experience of somebody who was a troll that ended up being more friendly later on. I don't know if that marriage lasted, by the way, because she was a little too much into Keith, if you know what I'm saying. So that is happening. And also in this modern world, yeah, we're living in a modern world. I guess we'll always be in a modern world, because that's pretty much what modern means. It's like what's happening now. Or there's postmodern. I don't know exactly how it works. If you do, you can give me a call and leave a message here at Cafe Anyway. 510-228-4640. 510-228-4640. And that number is also at MikesDailyPodcast.com if you want to check it out. But Tesla, you know, they slashed prices recently at the end of the year. And people, if they would have, you know, waited till the end of last year to buy a Tesla, they would have gotten this incredible discount. And Elon Musk did that partly because he knew that there's so much competition with these electric vehicles, these EVs, these e-cars. And inflation is cooling in car prices. Ford, in fact, has cut prices on the electric Mustang Mach-E. And that's following Tesla's lead. Ford Motor is increasing production and cutting prices on its electric Mustang Mach-E crossover. And they're chopping about $4,500 off. That's a little bit. Tesla's price cut was up to $13,000 on its Model Y. And that bled into this month as well. The Mach-E starting price now ranges from $46,000 to $64,000. Tesla's Model R starts at about $53,000 to $57,000 without any options. The Mach-E, so you can get it for cheaper, the Mach-E. The Mach-E led Ford to become the second best-selling automaker of EVs last year in the U.S., albeit trailing Tesla by a wide margin. Ford sold more than 65,000 electric vehicles in the U.S. last year. Tesla sold more than 552,000. Wow. So something like 6 times as much. And this was in 2022. So the move will make at least one version of the Mach-E again eligible for the $7,500 tax credit, which requires the Ford EV to have a suggested retail price of no more than $55,000 to be eligible. Ford said existing Mustang Mach-E customers awaiting delivery of vehicles will automatically receive the price cut. And one last bit of information I would like to pass on to you today, and that is there is someone I'm going to produce his show this Friday. I always produce his podcast, and I used to be his producer on the radio for about 2 to 3 years, a couple years back. Rob Black, he talks about your money, how to prepare for retirement. He had this interesting fact, and he always talks about this Valentine's Day, about how we spend entirely too much money on Valentine's Day. Americans are planning to spend nearly $26 billion for Valentine's Day this year. Chocolate hearts or romantic dinners. Americans are planning to spend that much on Valentine's Day this year. That number is up from 23, or actually 24 billion. So $2 billion more than last year. And it marks the second highest year for spending. Just over half of respondents say they plan to celebrate Valentine's Day. Not going into debt for love is number one financial rule for relationships. Don't go into debt over love. Millennials are planning to spend an average of $336 to celebrate Valentine's Day. And this study rated millennials the ages 35 to 44. Millennials as a group are going to spend $300 million. Valentine's Day, the most of any adult age group surveyed, they're followed by consumers ages 25 to 34. Consumers ages 25 to 34, is that Generation Z, just below millennials. They plan to spend an average of $238 million. That's an average of $238 versus millennials spending $336 for Valentine's Day. Both groups are well above the $193 that is the average among individuals who spend money on Valentine's Day. What do they spend it on? Candy is the most, 57%, followed by greeting cards, flowers, an evening out, jewelry, gift cards, and at the bottom of the list, clothing. If all goes well on Valentine's Day, it might lead to an engagement ring. That average cost is $6,000. If that goes well, you might be spending on a wedding shortly after. That costs average $32,000. And I know some young guy in his mid-20s who's going to be getting married soon. And I said, are you paying that whole bill? And he said, no, I'm getting some help from the parents. Thank God. Wow. He is not the one that texted me, by the way, in that last podcast. I was talking about how I got texted in my absolute worst moment of all time as things were falling down around me a year ago when my mom passed. And I was in Florida and I didn't want to have any contact with work at all. I deserved it. With all the stress they were putting on me, as I talked about last podcast, I needed a break. I needed to focus. I needed to mourn. There's so much going on in my life, so much stress. And this particular employee of mine texted me to ask me for someone's phone number. Not only was this a coworker that he didn't have the phone number, so I mean he could have talked to the person that puts together the schedules. He could have talked to any other employees that probably had the phone number. And in fact, he knew this person from before, so he should have had the phone number from before, but instead he had to bother me while I was at the funeral home getting ready for everything, all the horrible stuff that was going on. People, you need to prioritize, is what I'm saying. Before you're about to text somebody who's going through an absolute miserable moment, and he well knew that I was going through a tough time, and he just had to just send an email, whatever, Mike, just do my bidding so I don't have to think. You just do the work, Mike, so I don't have to think. That kind of thing. That just bugs me, as you can probably tell, because I talked about it for 2 podcasts. Okay, we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Look who's here. Hi, Mike. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How y'all doing?
It's a disgruntled fiddle player, tell you what.
What?
Don't let me forget, Mike. Always remind me that I should not ever get on your bad side, tell you what.
What?
Am I on your bad side today?
No, disgruntled fiddle player, you're fine. I'm not disgruntled with you.
Oh, good.
Look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. I'm making the least troop your house right now.
I don't know what that was. All right, let me try this root beer. Oh, that's so good. What's in it?
Sea moss.
Sea moss?
Yeah, drink her out now, okay?
Okay, sea moss. Oh, wow. Interesting fact about sea moss. If you're going to put sea moss in your drink, don't just throw it. It's like if you throw it into your drink, you have to, what you don't want to do is throw it into your drink, because I found out you have to soak it first overnight so it becomes more gelatinous. Because if you just throw it into your drink, into your smoothie, that is, and think that the blending smoothie blades are going to blend it up, they won't. And you end up drinking, and you end up with it's like you're getting one of those branches. You know when you buy grapes, and they got the grapes all held together by one of those little grape branches? It feels like you're eating a grape branch, or you're about to swallow a grape branch that got into your smoothie somehow, which is an odd thing to say, and even an odder thing to end a podcast with, but that's how we are. We're crazy otters here. We're like crazy otters. They're so cute. We're cute, crazy otters at Cafe Anyway is my point. And if you would like to chime in and tell me what you think of anything that we covered today, you can call me at 510. Yes, that is the Podcastro Valley area code, 228-4640. And with more ways to reach me, it's A-Frame. Listen to the sound of my shirt. Isn't it? It's all like crinkly and loud today. Sorry about that.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.